Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to be making a video today talking about Paige and going over her kit and her abilities. I am a Archon 4 player. I've been playing, I've played about 100 games of Paige since the new update back in January, so I've played a decent amount. So I have a few things that I can help you learn about the character, and I made a build that I'm going to be going over. If you want to look at the build, here's the build ID, and let's get started. So first things first, let's talk about her gun. So her gun is Chapter's End, and I think this is a really unique and interesting gun as it pierces and shoots letters for the gun. It goes through units. As we can see, I can shoot both of these units here. I go ahead and I can demonstrate it over here as well. I can shoot through both of these guys. I can shoot through both of these as well if I was farming jungle. Her gun is super nice for harassing enemies in lane. You can hit multiple targets and just overall clearing minions in the laning phase. So after her gun, something else about her gun, something to note, since she pierces targets, her gun does not count for headshot damage like another character might. So it just does base damage no matter where you shoot them. Okay. And then to start on her first ability is Bookworm, which is your main source of damage for this character. I max this first every time, as this is what you'll be spamming, throwing it as much as possible to do damage. It does suck because most characters can't actually jump over it, but that's just something to note about the ability. It scales 1.3 and 0.3 for the damage for the initial burst, and then the damage per second. It has a 3-second trail duration base and a 33-second cooldown base with an 8-second recharge for the charges. Maxing this first, you get 2 charges for the ability, 161 damage, and then 60 damage per second with 2 charges.
Have I got a story for you?
A few things to note about this ability.
No, sir, you will not be lighting my books on fire. Thank you very much.
Cast it at the wall, and it'll bounce in the direction away from you, coming back towards the ground. It always lands on the ground.
Come
You
on,
can
buddy.
throw it at the wall sideways and bounce it like this.
Want me to drop it?
Let's say someone's like hiding behind the wall, you can do it like this. Or if you want to catch somebody off guard up
Bring in
above, you can
support.
kind of throw it up like this.
Leave us alone. This is a great read. I love dragons. I hope you like the book.
Like that.
This is a great read.
And if I show you, put a quick cast, you can actually see the radius in which it'll hit. So in this circle, it will do damage to the target when it lands. Another small thing to note, if you decide to get a little creative, you can actually throw it backwards, and it lobs backwards at a certain point instead of forwards. So you can hit the wall and it'll bounce it away from you. I don't know, if you're back against the wall or something, you can do something like that. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with just throwing it at the ground, but I don't know, just something to notice. And then going on to her second ability, which is Plot Armor. You grant an ally a barrier. While the barrier holds, they gain bonus weapon damage. It scales 1.3 for the barrier and 0.2 for the weapon damage. This is a great tool in laning phase for harassing. You can put it on
nothing
yourself,
here.
and then the barrier allows you to harass back and forth with the enemies. Such as if I make this guy mimic me, he's shooting me out.
Keep going.
You know, do that. Like that. Works out kind of nice. Get to trade with him, and some of it goes to my shield. If I am playing with a gun character or something, you can put a point into it early on to get the fire rate.
Gotta stay safe.
Increases the fire rate of your abilities, things like that. I usually max this ability last on damage page because I just am not building as supportively, and it's mostly just useful for throwing out a little bit of damage reduction for the team or you in the laning phase, and then your other abilities are good for your damage. So it's still a good ability, and you can definitely put points into this if you're going supportive page. But for now, with damage page, that's not the case. And a final thing to note, when you max it, it will apply to multiple targets. You can also cast it on yourself, and if you see through the wall, I can't actually cast it on them. But if they are in range, I can cast it on myself, and it'll cast over to targets that I can't cast on through the wall.
Fight as long as I can. Feel safer already.
So say you were to have a teammate get Kelvin ulted, or they're just around a corner or something, you can cast it on yourself.
Protection.
And that's just something important to know. Your third ability, Captivating Read. Target an area with latent magic, applying a slow. The magic detonates after delay, dealing spirit damage and applying an immobilize, which it's doing 94 damage right now. Base, I think it's like 90, and then you get the 1.3 spirit damage scaling, the 1 second immobilize duration base, and then the 45% move speed reduction. So if I make this guy mimic me, he will slow down while walking across it.
Summoning.
And then get immobilized.
Oh, I need this to work.
And starting out, I usually max this ability second. You can, before you max your dragon, put in the 1 point for the cooldown if you really want the cooldown. I don't normally do that, but it's not a bad idea to get the reduce, since the starting is 30 seconds and this puts it to about 19 seconds. And then you want to max the second because it increases the immobilized duration, which is really nice, reduce the cooldown, and then also gives you the increased radius with the reduction of spirit resist by 18% for 6 seconds, which is really big for the damage you're doing, since you're doing a lot of damage, and you will end up hurting pretty heftily with this damage reduction, or resist reduction. 18% is quite a bit. Our fourth ability, Rallying Charge. We release a wave of spectral knights and steeds that charge across the entire city, healing allies and dealing spirit damage to enemies. The strength and heal and spirit damage is amplified as the knights travel further. We do 128 damage base, or it's probably like 125, and the stun duration is 1 second space, and then around a 125 healing amount, I believe, base with a 1.6 scaling. And something that it doesn't say in the tooltip, you actually get 5 meter movement speed when you cast the ability. The decaying on the left, you can kind of see I've got a bit more movement speed. It applies to your allies as well, since they're getting healed. And then it gives you increased amp damage on the target, so you're going to do more damage to the target. So there I did about 626 with the amp damage.
Have I got a story for you?
So the damage is pretty significant. And I maxed this ability third to get the increased heal, the cooldown reduction, the increased width from the steeds, and then the damage plus stun duration and the increased max amp damage for your other abilities. And since you're getting the increased damage amp for everything, like your abilities, your gun, and it applies on your teammates too. So this is just really nice overall for setting up plays for your team. You combo with the steeds, and then everybody's doing more damage to them, on top of you doing more damage to them. So just a really nice upgrade. So I max Dragon, Captivating Reed, and then Rallying Charge, and then you can do Shield. This is for damage Paige. For support Paige, it's a little different. And then I can go over the main combo. So like with this build, you're going to have Vortex Web. So the big combo that you're looking for is to throw in your 3 with the Vortex Web, and then throw down your ult and your dragon. So it'll look like this to pull in targets, to snare them, and then you want to hit your dragon and your steeds. Can make for massive combos if you land it on multiple people, stunning them and snaring them, locking them down for your team. You're doing a bunch of damage. And let's see, something to note about your Captivating Reed. It will apply on flat surfaces. So like here, if I'm casting it on the wall, it'll just immediately go to the ground. And like over here, there's this small spot here. I can actually cast it on that as well. As long as there's a spot where it can lay to cast, it will cast. You can get creative with that as well. So you can't really catch targets up in the air very well with that, but you can drag them down with Vortex Web. So, and then something to note about your Rallying Charge. When you cast it, it does fall slightly. So if there's a target up above you, say like Seven or Mina or Lash or something, if you're trying to knock them out of the air, just note that it will fall a little bit. So you might have to aim a little higher in order to get them to hit. And I think that's about it for the abilities. Let's go on to the items. So for early game, you kind of want these 6 items basically every time. To start though, you want high velocity rounds. This allows you to harass enemies a lot easier, confirm souls and deny souls, since our gun isn't really the best at confirming and denying, but it's not necessarily the worst either. But high velocity rounds helps a lot, so grabbing that's really important. Increasing the damage you're doing, and then you can shield yourself and go in for trades with your gun, because you usually want to start with plot armor when you're starting the lane. And then next up, these are just good for your damage. Extra Spirit and Mystic Burst just increases the damage you're doing with your combos when you land them. Got the Extra Charge for more charges on your dragon, just means more damage overall. And then the Mystic Expansion is nice to attach to your 3.
I love it.
So that way you have a wider range to land your immobilizes. Extra Stamina is really nice because you start with 2 stamina on Paige. So just having the extra stamina is really good for getting around the map and just keeping yourself safe. It puts a little bit of green investment into your character for more health. And then these over here are really important. So Slowing Hex goes into Vortex Web, which you want to get every single time in this build. Just stops people from getting away from you, helps you CC people, help your team. This is just more damage. Compressed cooldown is good to throw on your ultimate because the cooldown's really high. It's like 189 seconds. And the compressed cooldown gets the most value out of it because it's the highest cooldown. And then duration extender we throw on our 3. As this just increases the immobilized duration up to 2.44 when we have the points into it. So here I'd say these bottom items aren't necessarily the most important. They're just kind of situational. This item I would say is really good if they've got spirit resist already, or even if you just want to be doing more damage early on, it's good to just knock off spirit resist. Arcane Surge is a good early buy for just getting around the map, and it gives you all the stats that you want, the ability range, the duration, and the spirit power. So you can kind of combo it with your 3s or your 1s to get more range and damage out of them. And then we've got Mystic Slow, which is good for just keeping targets bogged down a little bit, reduce their movement and their dash distance, which builds into Lightning Scroll, which I like as an item, so not a terrible buy to grab. Suppressor is really good into characters with a lot of fire rate. Your dragons and your Captivating Reed applying the fire rate pretty easily. And your dragon fire on the ground will keep up the pressure with the fire rate too. It'll keep applying it, so not a terrible thing to have. As you can see, it's reducing their fire rate and stacking while it's on them. And then lasts for a while afterwards because it keeps reapplying it. And then, let's see. These abilities are really important just overall for your combos. Just the damage is really nice. With this damage from Tank Buster gets ignored, or it ignores spirit resistance. So if they have spirit resistance, this damage specifically won't matter to the target. And then greater expansion just makes it so that everything in your kit is wider, so easier to hit your abilities. Pressures the area a bit better. Reduce the cooldowns on your dragons, reduce the cooldowns of everything you have, which is nice. And then the superior duration, which applies to everything you've got, increasing the dragon fire on the ground duration, and then increasing the stuns of your ultimate, and then the immobilize on your 3. I think for Stamina Mastery, you don't have to buy this. I think Arcane Surge is really good. You can buy both if you'd like, or you should maybe just get one or the other. It's a little bit greedy to buy both, but if you're feeling like you want the mobility, it's not terrible to have both. So it's kind of up to you. And then Vortex Web is a must-have. This sets up your combo really nicely. Allows you to actually play with your character, pulling people together. And then for the damage portions, you always want these ones. Just having the cooldown is really nice because it applies on your Vortex Web as well as your abilities now. And then if you decide to buy other supportive items like these or these over here, it reduces the cooldown on them because they're actives. And then with escalating exposure and boundless spirit, these are just your core for doing damage on top of spirit burn. So escalating exposure reduces their spirit resist by the 8%, and then also gives you the 4.5% spirit amp stack while they're standing in it. So as you can see, the dragon's going to just apply it consistently while they're standing in it, which is good because you apply it pretty well and then it stays for quite a while, which is 12 seconds base. It does actually increase with duration extender up to 15.4, so it's kind of nice. And then having spirit burn is just applying the spirit reduction, or sorry, the healing reduction to 70%, and it applies to an AoE, so it's hitting over here as well. doing the initial explosion and then the damage per second. And then down here, well, okay, so your build at the end will kind of look like this. It's really heavy into spirit. It's a little greedy, so you can definitely switch up some items and grab some green if you'd like. I would say core, you should at least have these 4 here. And then maybe rapid recharge, and then you can kind of... So you should at least maybe have... rapid recharge with this, these 5 right here, and then or these 6, sorry, and then have the stamina item, whichever one you're choosing, like this or this. This is kind of like an example final build without the lightning scroll, like this, and then lightning scroll. And then if you want to be a bit more defensive anyway, then you can grab, like, you know, whatever plus this or like something like this, and then say you want like another active or something and something like that. Or you can just go straight damage like I normally do. It just kind of depends on what you're feeling. And then after you get those items, these items down here are a bit more luxury items. So you can grab Echo Shard, which truthfully is probably best on your Captivating Reed, since you can get more CC out of it and just apply more pressure through your immobilizes. I like to put it on the dragon just because it gives you more damage and you can throw more dragons out, which is really nice in fights if you're able to get them off. You can grab Refresher for being able to cast all of your abilities more often, and just getting 2 ults off in a fight is really big because of the pressure that it applies with your stuns, especially if you have Lightning Scroll. Lightning Scroll applying the extra damage and the stun. So as you can see, I can ult someone, and then the lightning scroll goes off and stuns them again. And say I were to refresh, you know, and then ult again. That's just a lot of CC on the target. And this applies to everyone you hit with your steeds too. So it's not just one target. It's a lot of crowd control for the middle of fights if you have refresher and lightning scroll. And that's kind of like the end build. I don't even normally get refresher. I normally just get lightning scroll for the damage it applies and the crowd control. It's totally up to you though. Refresher's not bad. And neither is Echo Shard. And then Mystic Reverb isn't bad if you want to do a bit more AoE damage in fights, reducing movement speed even more. And also just gives you some healing. And I would recommend, if you do buy it, I would recommend putting it on your dragon. Get a lot of healing from the item, from the lifesteal for your DPS, or your damage per second with the dragon on the ground. And then let's go over a few of the other like niche items, because those are all damage items. But if you wanted to be a bit more supportive and help your team a bit more and not just go straight damage, I made sure to put those items in too. So early laning phase, you can grab this. This is more of a personal item, but gives you a bit more damage, and then also just heals you off of your dragon damage per second that stays on the ground, the fire. Just kind of nice to have some regen in the early laning phase. You can get healing right if you want to help heal your team or you in the fight if you're taking a lot of damage. So you can go ahead and grab this, and it scales with spirit power, which is really nice. Also building into Rescue Beam and Healing Nova. Extra regen, I would say, is probably the least effective option here, but it's still an option if you decide you want some extra health regen. It'll keep you alive in the early phase, and it's only 800, so if you want to go ahead and invest in it, it's not terrible, but you probably won't buy healing booster or healing tippo, so it's more of just a little niche item that you could potentially grab. Sprint boots, though, I think are really nice to have early. It builds into enduring speed and trophy collector, and if you want to roam around the map a lot, it's super helpful. Enduring speed is a good item because it reduces the movement slowing effects, like slowing hex or whatever else, and just helps you get around pretty nicely. Debuff reducer is really nice into characters like Infernus and Shiv, as it reduces the duration of the burns and the Shiv damage that's being applied to you. And then it also builds into Spellbreaker, which I have down here, which is good into characters like Lash and Mina, Pocket, and then any other heavy spirit character that's just going to burst you really quickly. It's nice to have. And then I've also got Rusted Barrel here, which is just really good into characters who are shooting you a lot. Reduce their fire rate. Kind of same thing with Suppressor. This is just a direct debuff, so you can cast it onto a target.
You have a good eye.
Like so. Reducing their gun. And it's easier for them, or easier for you to avoid getting shot. And then for some of our survival options, I've got a few here early on. So first, reactive barrier is really nice if you're getting stunned a lot, any type of crowd control. It scales by a spirit power, which is really nice because you're already building a lot of it anyway. So, you know, if you decide that you want a barrier that it gives you some spirit resist, it's not a bad option. You can have Guardian Ward if you're building a bit more supportive for your team. This shield gets halved cooldown if you cast it on allies instead of yourself. You can cast it on yourself though, so go ahead and spam that on your allies. Pretty nice. It gives a little bit of move speed. Spirit and weapon shielding are basically the same. One is just for spirit and one's for weapon. Not a terrible buy if you're getting pressured by either in lane. They're 1600, so they're nice early defensive items. Stop you from dying. And they scale off boon level. So Enchanter's Emblem is personally my favorite option of these. I tend to buy this most games. It gives you the spirit power and ability cooldown reduction, which is nice. And then the 18% spirit resist. So as long as you're staying above 65% health, which most of the time it's not hard to do if you're playing safe and utilizing your range on Paige, because she does have a decent amount of range on her kit. You can kind of stay back and cast your abilities. Just a nice pickup overall. This one is a bit more niche, and I don't normally buy this. However, I think it has really high potential to be purchased on more characters than just Paige, not even just Paige in general. It's giving you 10% spirit resist, and every time an ability gets casted around you, or if you cast an ability, or wait, no, it's just enemies, sorry. You get a stack on it up to 20, which gives you health, and then can restore your stamina, which super nice to have if you're getting spammed abilities on like a character like Shiv or Kelvin or any other character with a bunch of charges on it. I mean, Paige, for example, throws abilities a lot, so stuff like that. It's probably not a bad pickup. I mean, get creative with it. You could probably use it. Healbane. Super nice item early. Reduces healing reduction on enemies, and also heals you if they're affected when you kill them. So, not a bad pickup. And then enduring speed we already went over. And let's go down to these items down here. So Rescue Beam is really nice if they've got like a Dynamo or something, or big CC ultimates, or they're, you know, you've got teammates who are getting stuck in crowd control. This will pull them out and you can save your teammates. Just a nice save for supportive Paige. Healing Nova is super useful for keeping your teammates topped up in team fights, taking a lot of damage. I mean, this heals your entire team, so overall good value if you're in the middle of everybody. And then you've got your spirit resilience and your bullet resilience, which give you a solid amount of resistances, and then as you're below 50% health, give you 15% more. Both of them, they work the exact same, just for different purposes. And then we've got Trophy Collector. This item builds out of sprint boots. If you bought this early, if you do buy this, you should buy it earlier, because you want to be helping your teammates as much as possible when you have this, and it helps you roam around with the increased health and the sprint speed. You can get around the map and then stay alive a bit easier with the stacks, and you're also just getting passive souls. It maxes at 16 stacks, so you want to try and get as many stacks as you can early. And then Dispel magic is just good against characters like Infernus and Shiv, or any other character who's debuffing you. You can just pop this really quick, and it's got 16% spear resist, so it's not a terrible item. Heals you when you use it as well. These items here, if you bought Mystic Regeneration, I don't think that Radiant Regeneration is a bad option in the mid game. You can have some extra healing on your character if you feel like you're taking a lot of damage. And it's just a solid pickup, I think. I would say sell it for later in the rest of your build, because you could probably trade it out for Mystic Reverb if you like the healing. Mystic Reverb is just better. And it also applies to slow and the extra damage. So not a terrible pickup, but yeah. Then these items here are more supportive items if you feel like you want to help your team out a lot more. You can throw down Silence Wave for characters who you feel like you need to stop them from using their abilities more. Knockdown for characters who are flying around and just being super, super annoying in the air. And then Disarming Hex for gun characters. If you decided that you built Rusted Barrel earlier, it builds into Disarming Hex here. So you can go ahead and slap that down. And then, let's see. These other optional items down here. You can go for Cursed Relic, which stops characters from using anything at all for 3.25 seconds, which does increase with superior duration. So if we sell this and grab superior duration, goes to 4.16. It does reduce your damage. This is more of a supportive item. I don't normally buy this because I like playing her damage, and I feel like she does a lot of damage, but if you really feel like you need it to shut down like a Haze or a Wraith or whatever the case may be, you can slap this on them. Not a bad purchase. Magic Carpet I just threw in here for funsies. It gives you some nice stats, the ability duration and things like that. It does actually affect the other stuff too, so this would go 4.5, or what is it, like the stun on this, or, you know, things like that. The duration of Disarming Hex. And then I don't normally buy this item, but if you feel like you want to, just for funsies, you know, it's a funny little item, so go crazy. Focus Lens, it builds out a Spirit Sap. I didn't put Spirit Sap in here just because I think that the build browser is kind of frustrating, and it was giving me a headache, so I didn't throw it in here, but I think it's not a terrible purchase if you were to grab Spirit Sap. It's right here. It builds into Focus Lens. If you want to buy this item, it applies a silence directly to a target for 5 seconds. Well, I also have this duration extender, so it's only 4 seconds. 5 seconds with duration extender, which you normally have, so around 5.12. And it reduces the spirit resist, reduces their spirit power, and then also increases the damage you're doing to them, because if you hit them with all of your damage, it's going to expire the damage you've dealt for an increased 30% on top of them, which is really nice. Just gives you a big burst of damage on a target if you feel like you need to take out a carry or something. And then we've got Scourge, which you can pick up if you've got a nice frontline tank like an Abrams or something. it applies your spirit, escalating exposure stacks and your spirit burn and stuff like that. It does a pretty good amount of damage. 3.5 max health per second, and it lasts 12.8 with duration extender. So you're doing quite a bit of damage here on your frontliner with this, and it also gives them 40% spirit resist, which is just super nice for keeping them healthy in the middle of a fight. Like, pretty solid option if you're going more supportive. I don't hate it at all. I think it's really good. And then on to our more defensive items here. I think plated armor is just super solid into bullet carries. I mean, it just prevents a lot of damage from being come down on you. Witch mail, super good for the spirit. It's not like a heavy spirit resist item. It's, I mean, well, it's 20. It's more than Spellbreaker, and it's more than this. You know, it's decent. And then the big thing, though, is it gives you cooldown reduction per hit on a random ability, which is nice because you're casting your abilities a lot. So you could throw this in for this or something if you're taking spirit damage to give you more cooldowns. Super, super nice. I went over Spellbreaker already. And then Juggernaut is just nice if you already bought Enduring Speed. It just builds into it. If you're late into the game and you're already at this point, you might as well, if you're into fire rate characters who are shooting you a lot, reducing their fire rate, and you just get all the extra stats that you had from the other stuff as well. It goes from 25 to 50 for the slow resist, so pretty big there. And then you get some melee resist and the health regen and move speed. So not a terrible option if you feel like you would like this item. And then if you bought Guardian Ward earlier, definitely upgrade in Divine Barrier if you're being a bit more supportive, because it's just a better Guardian Ward. It's just upgraded. So go ahead and throw that in. And yeah, that's about it. I believe I mentioned it already, but here's the build ID if you want to follow this build. I did make sure to annotate everything and kind of show you the order that I build everything out in the build. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope this is helpful, and come watch the streams. I stream fairly often on YouTube. I love playing this game, and I'd love to talk about the game with you guys. If you have any questions, you come over there and ask me. I'm willing to clarify or give you opinions on stuff, or even just have my mind changed on things. So come by, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later. Peace.